Hi, I'm Dick Rauscher. Today we're going to be talking about Stony Hill Nugget number 237. It's entitled Global Climate Change, the Power of Irony to Awaken Our Collective Consciousness. As I listen to the conversation going on over the 2016 elections, I'm struck by the irony that I'm observing in the conversation. And what I mean by that is the GOP is saying that, now remember, these are uneducated, scientifically uneducated people, are telling the Pope, who, by the way, does have a degree in science, I think it's chemistry, that he shouldn't be meddling in politics and he shouldn't be talking about global climate change because he doesn't know anything about it. And yet they, and here comes the irony, they can deny global climate change, they can deny global warming, and they deny the fact that the increase in CO2 is human caused. I find that very ironic that they can take on the Pope and yet they can make those statements as absolute fact. That's ironic. Normally, irony is kind of a form of humor. Unfortunately, I fail to see the humor in it because I think we're talking about something way too important. The second point in the article is that the GOP, and again, with their strong opinions about the fact that global warming and global climate change is not happening, they are assuming that the scientists, now here comes the irony, that the scientists are wrong. And yet, when you look at these same scientists, they can send a tiny little probe all the way to Pluto and on a journey that's going to take, 7 years, I guess, to get there. That means they could not only launch the probe on a spinning Earth that's going around the sun, that's traveling through the galaxy, and they can predict with accuracy that it's going to hit Pluto at a certain place in time 7 years away. And then even more amazing, that they're going to be able to, or did, send signals back to the Earth, okay, while this little satellite is moving out of our solar system, and they can hit the Earth while the Earth is traveling around the sun, spinning, wobbling on its axis, and get high-resolution pictures back. And yet, these same politicians assume that the scientists don't have the intelligence to determine whether or not we have global warming on our planet and that it might be human caused. And they put this out as a fact. I find that, again, extremely ironic. What we're really talking about, the fundamental issue I think that's going on here, and I cover this in the article in some detail, is that it seems to me as though the politicians that are denying global climate change are kind of caught up in ideological thinking. And ideological thinking is a very primitive form of thinking from childhood, where we kind of believe that all of our beliefs represent absolute truth, and we tend to be kind of black and white in our thinking. In other words, we tend to be extremist. We're absolutely right, and most children manifest that kind of thinking. The opposite of that would be intellectual integrity. In other words, working with evidence. When the evidence indicates that maybe our beliefs are wrong, that we are willing to embrace an intellectual integrity that allows for change in our thinking. One of the important parts of intellectual integrity is recognizing, for example, that what I call middle path thinking, that there is always truth on both sides of every issue. I think it's Ken Wilber that says nobody's smart enough to be wrong 100% of the time. So the concept is there's always some truth on either side of an issue. And it's ironic that the people who are supposedly smart enough to run our country are not smart enough to be able to look for truths on both sides of an issue. To kind of summarize here, what we're really talking about is the concept that the earth is a living system. It's not a machine. And a living system is talking to us right now, and we need to increase our listening. Global warming, climate intensification, we're seeing it around the world, around the country, around the western fires and around the storms in the middle of our country, the storms last winter around the East Coast, all the droughts that we're seeing in the Middle East. The evidence is pretty strong that something's going on and we need to start taking a look at it. If we continue to deny the evidence and take on nature, it's a pretty high certainty nature's going to win. One of my favorite quotes goes like this. It says, "The good thing about science is that it's true, whether you believe in it or not." So, basic concept, we need to be listening to the earth. It's talking to us. Nature is speaking, and we need to listen. We need to do it with some intellectual integrity, recognize that there's always truth on both sides of every issue, and also begin to see the irony in this presidential election. It's there, and it's very frightening. It's very ironic. And again, as I pointed out earlier, irony is supposed to be humorous. I fail to find humor in here, mainly because the issues are way too important for our future, for the future of the planet and the future of our species. Okay, so that kind of covers what I talked about in the Nugget article. If you click on the links below, you can go to the article or you can go to the webpage to sign up for the Stony Hill Nugget newsletter. I hope this article is helpful. We'll see you down the road. Have a good week.